By the way, I had to slow down a lot of CinemaSins' footage because of copyright, and I didn't feel like putting the text up.
I'm not sure how that dirty sock is going to help with the pain. And furthermore, if you don't die from blood loss, you might die from whatever dirty bathroom floor disease you just ingested.
The sock won't help with the pain, but it will prevent Eric from biting his tongue off.
I remember back in 1988 when Friday the 13th Part 7 was going to get an X rating if they didn't cut the scene down with the sleeping bag hitting the tree from 3 hits to 1. I wonder what got you an X rating in 2006. Live on-screen taint piercing?
Minor nitpick, but there was no X rating in 2006. In 1990, the X rating was replaced by the NC-17 rating due to X being associated with...
And by the time this tape is finished, you will have 1 minute to find a way out.
So we find out that Amanda is one of the killers behind these new Jigsaw murders, and that she followed Jigsaw's work, except for giving the victims no chance to survive the situation. My question is, how did she imitate the Jigsaw voice on these tapes? Or did Jigsaw go ahead and do the voice for the tapes, even though he didn't condone the traps she was setting up?
John probably helped set this trap up, but didn't know Amanda was going to rig it.
Mind you, with only a minute to live, Carrie might as well just give up. But if she's trying to get out of this, why is she wasting time trying to pull the trap apart, rather than sticking her hand in the acid to get the key?
Carrie was desperate. She hoped that it might have been possible to get out of the trap without excruciating pain. When she realizes pain is the only way, she immediately caves and dips her arm in.
By this point, these kidnappings have become so predictable they've lost any kind of suspense element, if they ever had any to begin with. Also, we knew from the moment we saw Lynn that she was going to be part of Jigsaw's plot. So why not just have her kidnapped after she has her meaningless conversation with Chris? Do we really need to see her save that kid's life, pop some pills, and be mopey? I'm sure someone will narrate this bull to us later.
The scene in the hospital explains that Lynn lost her passion for her work and that she used to be a great doctor.
Look, if you got something on your mind, go upstairs to psych. Just don't bring it in here. We don't have any seconds to spare, Lynn. The woman standing in front of me had to be dragged from the locker room to put a chest tube in a trauma patient. Lynn Denlem should have been the first one there. Lynn!
Who are you? I've seen you on television. Lawrence Gordon was your doctor.
Just seconds after Dr. Lynn asks who John is, she tells us she already knew who he was.
Lynn has such little passion for her patients that she can't recognize them without a reminder. It took Amanda showing her the file to put 2 and 2 together.
Where am I?
Do you remember me?
I've seen you on television. Lawrence Gordon was your doctor.
I was his patient and he was mine. As you can see from that report, my prognosis isn't good. Would you agree?
There's no preventative treatment for what you have.
I remember you saying that to me once before in almost that exact same tone. Leave it to a doctor to find such a cold, clinical way of saying I'm a dead man walking.
On top of that, Lynn is in an incredibly stressful situation.
Amanda, it's time to start our game.
It takes 30 minutes for this movie to Saw 3.
Well, yeah. The movie had to set up Eric escaping, Amanda's unfair games, and Lynn's depression.
Consumed with hatred and vengeance. Vengeance against the drunk driver who killed your only son.
I know Jigsaw has Amanda and Detective Hoffman helping him out right now, but how the f*** does he know all the stories of everybody he puts through these things? You know what kind of work hours these people would have to endure to understand everything about their victims? You wouldn't even have time to pee.
I'm not sitting this, I'm just playing this clip to let everybody know that Jeremy knows who Hoffman is, and that will be important later.
I guess that tape also gave Jeff superpowers, so he can now kick open the crate?
Or the boards of the crate have been weakened by time, meaning that they can now be kicked open.
I mean, nobody locks a f***ing house up anymore. Jigsaw and his followers really have an easy time of it kidnapping these people.
Jeremy, there are a lot of ways to break into a house with a locked door.
You alone can grant her the gift of life before she freezes to death.
When was she put in here? And how did they know Jeff would wake up and get out of the crate and get to her before she froze to death?
Hoffman could have put her there when Jeff got close.
I guess when Jigsaw and Amanda scouted this guy, they took measurements of how far he could reach.
I mean, yeah. Team Jigsaw tries to account for everything.
Also, if Jigsaw's main goal is to have people tap into their survival instinct, why does he make it where it's so easy to fuck up these games? I mean, Jeff here could have easily dropped the key when he finally grabs hold of it, and by no fault of his own, would have failed the test and died.
The games aren't supposed to be easy, so if Jeff drops the key, he loses. Simple as that.
There is only one key to open the device. It's in the stomach of your dead cellmate.
Wait a minute, so Amanda was put to the test, but all she had to do was cut open the stomach of someone who was already dead to get the key? While I admit this is still not easy, she didn't have to do anything that put her through any real pain to escape.
First of all, he wasn't dead.
He's been injected with an opiate overdose. Couldn't move or feel much of anything.
I mean, he was alive?
Was.
Though Amanda didn't know that, so I guess it's not that relevant. Second, it wasn't that easy. She had to stab a path through his stomach with a tiny scalpel, then find a tiny key hidden somewhere in his intestines, unlock the reverse bear trap with said baby key, and get it off her face in under 60 seconds. Thank you, TV tropes.
Amanda, do not be afraid.
I mean, was the trial easy just so that he could recruit her? Seems like Jigsaw would have given her a real trial if she was supposed to be his protege. Also, I don't really understand why she decided to be pro-Jigsaw after this. The trial was bogus, and what made Jigsaw so sure she'd want to be a part of this?
First of all, the thing I just said. And second, Amanda is a drug addict. She's not exactly of sound mind, making it more believable that she'd believe Jigsaw's game got rid of her drug addiction and that she'd confide in John. Also, I'm aware that I'm not the best at recording lines, but that was a really awkward audio splice.
Also, I don't really understand why she decided to be pro-Jigsaw after this. Also, considering the reason Jigsaw is putting Amanda to the test, it seems like having a scene where he tells Amanda specifically to make these traps escapable and why would be important, plus giving us the reasons for Amanda's failures. But the movie seems more interested in the nostalgia of the original Saw than showing us where Amanda went wrong.
What? It is incredibly obvious that the games are supposed to be escapable. We do not need a scene where John tells Amanda that the games have to be beatable.
You don't remember me.
Look, I'm going to spout something that's very argumentative here, which I'm sure many of you are used to by now. But after the first death, it's kind of hard to believe Jeff gives a shit about his revenge right now.
Why? In Jeff's eyes, every victim he has to save is more and more responsible for his problems. On top of that, as Jeff gets further into the game, each victim becomes more and more physically and/or emotionally painful to save. All of this means that Jeff will be less and less willing to save whoever he has to save as the game goes on.
Another trial that's kind of bullshit, really. All Jeff had to do was incinerate his son's toys to get a key, then wade through some pig guts to save the judge. He didn't really pay any price there. Sure, it must have been tough saying goodbye to all those mementos, but there's not really a choice here.
All he had to do?
Jeremy, Jeff was shown to be obsessed with preserving Dylan's belongings to the point where he didn't let anyone touch them.
Where is it? Where is it?
How many times? How many times do I have to tell you before you get it in your head?
I just wanted to sleep with someone.
No, you're just nothing. You don't touch things in Dylan's room. Okay?
While physically this isn't very difficult, mentally it's one of the hardest traps in the series.
So Amanda kidnapped Adam in the first movie? Does it matter? Do we care? Also, is Jeff just standing around this whole time? He only has 2 hours. Doesn't seem fair if they're making him wait while Amanda deals with her personal hang-ups.
Maybe these events are happening at the same time.
Good thing the drugs they gave him kept him knocked out for the right amount of time. What would have happened exactly if Dr. Gordon had woken up at this moment? Would they have Obi-Wanned him? These are not the Jigsaw and Amanda you're looking for.
Team Jigsaw has probably been doing this long enough to know how long the tranquilizers last. Even if Gordon and Adam woke up, John and Amanda probably would have just drugged them again.
The question you have to ask yourself is this. Are you willing?
Have mercy!
to take a bullet for the man who killed your son.
I'm having trouble figuring out John's motives here. For the first two victims, Jeff merely needed to grab a key and make a decision to save a person's life. But now, for the actual drunk driver who killed his son, he has to take a bullet? That's a dick move, even for John.
Again, in Jeff's eyes, the more responsible for Jeff's grievances the victim is, the harder it will be to save them.
Jeff has no concept of time, or just doesn't give a shit. But not only is he letting this guy get closer to death while he figures out what he wants to do, he also only has 2 hours to get out of this hellhole.
Jeff has been consumed by vengeance. It takes the judge's persuasion for Jeff to even attempt to save Timothy.
You've got to help him, Jeff! Please stop, no! Please stop! Just standing there, you're an accomplice to murder. Are you a murderer?
I wanted to kill him every day.
Oh my God!
For 3 years, I wanted to kill you. Yeah, maybe I am.
What about your family? Your wife, your daughter?
Amanda, even with that gun, it is Lynn who holds your life in her hand.
Amanda's test is whether or not she can save a life, because her Jigsaw-inspired traps were inescapable. But it's pretty laughable that he knew Amanda would grow jealous of Dr. Lynn and would go as far as shooting her over it.
Why? John definitely knows how much Amanda is attached to him and that she doesn't like it when the players win.
She doesn't deserve to go free. You promised. I didn't promise you.
If Amanda sets inescapable traps, why was it so easy for Eric to escape this? Amanda somehow thought a cop had no way of getting out of his shackles and left this door completely unlocked.
Amanda didn't start rigging the games until after this confrontation. But even if we ignore that, the only way out of the shackles is amputation or foot crushing, both of which are extremely painful. Amanda would have figured that Eric, who hasn't been out in the field for years, wouldn't have it in him to do either of those things.
I know you were once considered a fearless police officer. Do you feel a whole lot safer now that you only sit behind a desk? You left him for dead, didn't you? But I cleaned up your mistakes, and I forgave you for them.
How the did John clean up Amanda's mistakes? The FBI people noticed immediately that the deaths at the beginning weren't John's work.
John was only referring to Eric Matthews, which he hoped would be a one-time event.
Nobody changes. It's all a lie.
Given the roughly, 98% death rate of all the Jigsaw traps through these 3 movies, and the other 2% become Jigsaw disciples, what the is Amanda basing this belief on?
Amanda's basing this off of the fact that she's cutting herself again despite initially believing that her game fixed that.
You didn't know that Lynn and Jeff were husband and wife.
How the did he keep that from her? And Jeff and Lynn Denlin have the same last names. You mean to tell me that he said, go to this address and kidnap Jeff, but don't look at any family photos around the house and don't do any research? Surely with the kind of job she has, where she has to kidnap people and be at certain places at certain times, she would have discovered their marriage somehow just through the surveillance that is required of such tasks.
Hoffman was the one who kidnapped Jeff and Corbett, not Amanda.
Shortly after, Hoffman is seen holding a children's toy. When asked about it by Agent Perez, he simply says,
It's a short story, believe me.
Which is not a lie, but if we look closely at it, it's actually one of the toys that belongs to Corbett Denlin, the kidnapped daughter from Saw 3.
Since Amanda never refers to Jeff by his full name, John and Hoffman likely didn't inform her anything about Jeff other than his first name and that Lynn can go free once Jeff makes it to the end. At the end of this video, the song Let It Go plays, and I don't like that song, so I'm adding 100 sins. I know that's just an opinion, but if you think about it, CinemaSin's entire video is one big opinion, so take that.